Didn't feel better, and so I did that. And the live snuck it around for a few days, but everybody knew. And then I took the Suboxone too soon and put myself in precipitated withdrawal, which is a million times worse. And so it was just scary. It's like that trauma of detox is like so fresh again. It really, really scary. And I was off for like 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. And that relapse was really dumb and pointless too. And I want to make another plan. I do. I'm just so overwhelmed. You know, some different partnerships are floundering. Like, why did I have to screw up these amazing opportunities that I already had this year? Just like right back again. And then I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired. And I get suicidal, I do. Like, all I think about is how much easier it would be on everybody around me. And I know people are sick of me and resent me. And you feel like such a disgusting, shameful burden on everyone around me. I'm so sick of it, and I'm so sick of being here. Life has haunted me, cleaning and I'm doing so good. Yeah, I got up every morning to watch the sunrise for like 2 weeks in a row. And it was so nice. And it's really feeling like back into it a little bit and like looking good. And I'm just like feeling disgusting and I'm disgusting. Anyway, so everything there. It's so scary. The supply is so disgusting. Sorry. It's so gross. It just makes me so sick. When they stop and me even sicker. It's like,
Hello? Oh. Oh, are you serious? Yeah. Oh, that sucks. Okay. That's important for sure. No, I'm glad you're okay. I can come grab a sample for sure. Yeah, I'm just getting in my car right now, so I'll be there in like 15. All right, okay, I'll talk to you soon. No problem. Okay. Bye. Yeah, drug checking is a full-time 24-hour job for me. If someone calls me and says they almost went down, I'll pick a sample up from anywhere, really, as long as I got the gas for it. I had a fentanyl overdose from using a drug that wasn't supposed to have fentanyl in it. The person that I was using with panicked, called 911. My parents are straight-laced as you get. This is the second child that they have just potentially lost to the illicit drug market. I went into a coma after my overdose. Every day that I didn't regain consciousness was another day of more damage, and eventually my brain was pretty much brain dead. And the doctors told them, after they had stabilized me the best they could, that I would never wake up, and they should probably pull the plug. So, yeah, my family has been greatly affected by this toxic drug crisis, and the only reason why I am here now, able to talk about this and able to lend a hand to the overdose crisis, is sheer luck and the work of the paramedics and the doctors and the steadfast love of my family and my friends.
So I had basically a perfectly normal, quote-unquote normal life until I was in my mid-30s. Then I met my wife and had a perfectly idyllic existence with her for almost 7 years, and then due to a set of circumstances, she ended up committing suicide, which sent me into a spiral of depression. And I tried to commit suicide by I had heard that fentanyl was the up-and-coming thing, and that you could die with just one hit. And so I set about trying to do that, but I just kept waking up time and time again, and then I just developed an opioid use disorder.
This is the house I grew up in. It's not being as well taken care of right now, which is kind of sad, but yeah, like I grew up in that house from 0 to 16, and my mom got remarried. We moved into a big house across town with my stepdad. I like never wanted for anything. We had so many extracurricular activities, camping and skiing and snowboarding, like just like a really, really fulfilling childhood in life. And yeah, so I guess you could say I don't have any excuses. I mean, I had a beautiful, beautiful childhood, and a lot of the trauma that I have and PTSD that I have is due to like being mistreated in the medical system. I was so overprescribed for so much of my teens and 20s, like it was negligent. It was like tons of Seroquel, clonidine, gabapentin, Zopiclone for sleep, Ativan, and lithium as well. Funders know I use drugs, like that's why I'm being funded, because I have that like exact specific expertise and also the exact specific capacity that I've built because of having access to consistent supply. It's been a really rough couple weeks. When I was like picking up my raw fentanyl, and I got an ounce this time too, so it's not cheap, right? Because I like mix my own fentanyl caffeine, and the raw that I got was different than usual, and it had 1% bromazolam in it, which is a benzo, which is like something that we avoid like the plague, because the benzos really create like a different type of capacity.
What I'm trying to do is give everybody the information, make sure that everybody has that same safety, because two things are working against people right now. There's the iron law of prohibition, which states that drugs, as long as they're illegal, will just become more and more potent. It's a free market explosion as more and more people desire harder and harder substances to knock them out for longer and longer stretches of time. They will find substances to add to the already insanely potent base fentanyl.
Killer, right? Hello. Hello. Razzle dazzle. Is it weak? No. Strong? What would you say? Very strong? Alright.
Yeah, I've been getting medical stuff.
Yeah, you have. You have. Would you say that the service has helped you like a little bit?
Quite a bit, yeah. It was like
Dark gray.
It didn't really do much, and then it's like
We gave you some explanation.
because there's and then I think you guys ended up finding hot spots in it,
Okay.
and I guess I was smoking the bunk part of the bag.
Oh, dude, that's critical. That's so good that we could help you at least with
So
that.
I was like, okay.
That was a couple weeks ago?
No, this was like I
Okay.
think last year.
It's fentanyl.
All right. Have you tried it yet?
I don't do it.
You don't do it. Okay, so it hasn't been tried by you.
No, rather than try it.
Really? Has there been any adverse reactions from it at all from other people? Like overdoses?
No, there's some people pass out.
Okay, so there's some drowsiness. So you think it probably has benzos in it?
Yeah.
Most likely. All right, my friend. I'm gonna give you a little cup here. You just put maybe a grain of rice amount into this cup right here. And then don't bother passing it to me because I could spill it. So I'll just take it from you when you're done. And take your time, man.
What color are we dealing with? Purple?
Yeah, we usually write down just
We,
the basics about it.
And we tried to go by your colors if you had more than one, and you thought this is more pink, and I said purple stuff, and we get all confused. So do you know how this works? Okay. Fantastic. So what it's gonna do is we're gonna take your sample, we're gonna put it on this machine here, and the machine is gonna shine infrared light through it to get basically what you can think of as a fingerprint. So down usually contains anywhere from 2 to 6 ingredients, and that is you can think of it as it has multiple fingerprints, all one on top of the other. So we have to kind of separate them and tease them apart. Now there is a 5% detection limit where we either might miss something or be unable to identify it entirely, and that's why we use test strips to determine if substances are in fact in there that could be dangerous. For cocaine and methamphetamine, we'll use fentanyl test strips to make sure there's no fentanyl at all. Measuring background.
Measuring background.
For down, we'll use benzo test strips to just see the presence of benzos, because often we can't fully identify the benzos because they're super potent. Even at like 1 or 2%, you could have a benzo that's the equivalent of 20 Xanax.
So my name is Megan and I run the harm reduction for Altitude Music Festival. So that's what I do here. We cover everything that contains harm reduction, so like supplies, responding to calls, education, training, everything like that. So it's for the whole campground, the attendees, our staff. I was trying to figure out a solution to having like drug testing on site, which is beyond what I can offer, which is like fentanyl test strips and benzo test strips, so they're not as useful for an environment like this as they are for where I work on the downtown east side. So when I was trying to brainstorm ideas, and then another team member reached out to me saying that Mountainside had reached out to them, it was like a shining light that I realized was it felt so lucky to get to have that with the lack of experience I have in trying to find a solution for it or find a team for it. And so Mountainside just being new and us being relatively new at this space, it was like a perfect match. And the whole team raved about it afterwards. Mountainside had mentioned to us that they wanted to come back next year if it was possible. And there was not a single person who had any second thought on saying yes, because it was so integral to the safety of everybody here. Yeah. Lack of education for the people who are taking their substances and not knowing what's in them, it just leads to a whole array of challenges and risks that could be so easily avoided if there were services like drug checking at every festival. But for myself, as a harm reduction worker, and for the harm reduction team, having a system set up that lacks drug testing has challenges success for something like drug testing at a festival would look something like the people who need the service can access it for free. They feel safe accessing it. They feel like they aren't putting themselves at risk, and they leave knowing that they've made an educated decision that can offer them the most support and help during it. I've had a lot of attendees tell myself and the other harm reduction staff that they've been checking their drugs, and the attendees and also the liaison for the land and the coordinators, everyone has been extremely happy and grateful to have drug testing on site, because people have come to realize how pivotal it is in terms of safety at a festival. The more harm reduction services that are at festivals and the more festivals that have them there, and the more people realize how important it is and how useful it is, the larger the community grows and the more people that want to help out. And so it's sort of like the snowball effect, and we can see it happening at every festival already. When I go to a festival or anyone goes to them and they don't have services there, it's really obvious. When a festival does have services there, it's even more obvious, because everybody feels safer, and that's the intention of having a festival and coordinators and services and staff and everybody there, right?
Hi.
Morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. Is that Tanis?
Yes.
Perfect. So Dr. Grover should be here shortly.
Okay.
I can just grab you a urine container to do a sample,
All right.
and he'll call you when he's ready.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So thanks for coming in today, Tanis. You know, I know it takes a lot for you to actually put yourself out there and tell me all the information. So really importantly, with the fentanyl that you're using, is it prescribed fentanyl or are you getting it elsewhere?
It's not prescribed fentanyl, so it's from an illicit supply.
Yeah.
We do, of course, have access to pretty rigorous testing, so
Yeah.
we do know that it is just fentanyl HCl and mixed strictly with caffeine.
Okay, perfect. What makes you use more or less in that particular day?
A really stressful job
Yeah.
and a lot of workload. It'll be stress and unexpected things thrown at me throughout the day that really kind of up my usage.
Yeah.
I'm also in quite a lot of pain. Like, I've got a lot of dental work that's being done.
What I want to get a sense is of your dependence. How much do you think you could have on a day where you don't feel sick? Just roughly, like just throw it out
Yeah.
there to me.
Probably a half gram.
Half a gram, okay.
Yeah.
So that's that. So what that tells me is that's what your sort of baseline dependency amount
Yeah.
is, and then
Yeah.
that's very important for me, because when you're going for dental surgery,
Yeah.
you're going to have now sort of acute on sort of chronic issues there. Okay.
So I'm definitely using more most days than I need to. That's for sure.
Is it the high that potentially you enjoy? Is there something associated with it that you really enjoy? And why I'm asking you that question is because we can focus on some of the aspects of that part that provides that euphoria.
Yeah, like the ritualistic aspect of it, the calmness, the bubble, the blanket
Yep.
aspect of the opioid there. Yeah, absolutely.
If you relapse like more than once, do you see a consistent pattern? And that's important for me to kind of understand so I can get ahead of the curve there with you.
So the last time that I relapsed, I was actually doing really well. Great day, driving home to Chilliwack, wool over my eyes, got off at Clearbrook exit, found a number in my phone, and the next thing I knew, I was on the concrete in a plaza in Clearbrook with an ambulance around me, and I'd overdosed in my car.
Wow.
Like, there was no thought to it, there was no trigger to it. It was just like, this is what I'm doing, and it happened.
Yeah.
It's very out of my control. It's really scary.
My brother passed away from a MDMA overdose when I was 11. Lost my parents pretty much to grief for a long time, years. Because of my brother's death, I felt like it was my calling to try to protect my friends. And I use knowledge as my sword, and I just learned about safe dosing, safe usage, the effects of the drugs, what they do to the brain, and I just became obsessed with it because I felt like I had a connection with substances, even though at this time I hadn't even used them. But I mean, probably was like 16 when I decided to first try MDMA, you know, and it was this moment I'll never forget the feeling of euphoria I got from it, and you know, the havoc that drugs had wreaked on my childhood from my brother passing away from this substance just evaporated.
I come from a family of like alcoholics and drug addicts, and just life in Chilliwack.
My foot got ran over by a forklift.
Prior to losing my kids.
And honestly, in the beginning, I just like getting high.
It was usually trauma somewhere in there.
Diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder since I was 11.
An abusive relationship.
I never really had the proper guidance. You know what I mean?
I got onto drugs. I was curious about it. Like I knew like what it was like because my brother was addicted.
My dad started
years ago.
I
want that
feeling.
And that feeling I've never felt. I used to just COVID issues, that.
I was 11 years old, and I true sense of love.
Peel back the layers of the onion and see where we can identify any triggers that potentially.
Yeah.
Because maybe, you know, driving through that area where you particularly had used is a trigger for you.
Yeah.
It's really helpful for me to know.
It's really interesting, right? It's like so many, we focus on these negative triggers, but really it's like I use when I'm happy and I use when I'm not. And it's like all emotions come alongside it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so right now you're using a list of fentanyl. Have you thought about going on opiate agonist therapy? So you know, our lines are buprenorphine, which is Suboxone, and then Cadian, methadone, and potentially some other options for harms or safe reduction.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's kind of that's where my barrier comes up, is I have such a habitual pattern that if I add an opioid agonist therapy to my existing pattern, my tolerance just goes up.
Right.
And I don't actually dial back the other stuff.
We've seen xylazine make its way in, and xylazine has its own issues. Like we've literally repeated the warning over and over again that this can cause injuries that resemble flesh-eating disease. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, it's been the most absurd explosion of narcotic substances to find their way into the supply in literally unknown potencies. Like we've seen and tested samples that were as high as like a 50-50 mix of just plain fentanyl and a benzodiazepine. Well, I have some confirmatories for you as well.
Seems to be an uptick in this medetomidine veterinary anesthetic.
It's medetomidine.
Medetomidine, right? I see. I don't even know how to pronounce it. That's how new it is.
Is that something like K? Like K's are veterinary?
It's in the same family of drugs as xylazine, right? So
it's meant for animals,
and it hasn't been studied in humans. Like so many of these substances that are coming in.
It's coming in at 1% too, so it's like beyond our detection limit as well. That's why
exactly. Like it was all like 1%.
Yeah,
so
under the radar.
You can't
Yeah.
have test strips for it.
Do you think that getting your drugs tested, Jordan, like could have an influence on the supply at large? Do you think if enough people complain?
This guy in particular, who I get it off of, when I went to him with the drug test showing xylazine positive hella, he got right on the phone and he switched out his whole batch.
Wow, so like a swinger.
He was lied to. He completely lied to, and he was so mad.
And one of the very first time I detoxed, actually, I think this was the very first time I detoxed off of fentanyl. They locked me in a cell in like, it wasn't the psych ward, like the regular psych ward, it was like upstairs in like ICU, psych hold. And I was like out of control. I was detoxing off of not only fentanyl for the first time, but like an absolute ton of pharmaceuticals. Just like they needed me at a baseline. So I just went cold turkey off of all of that at once in a cell. Like I was smashing my head against the wall. They were like restraining me, you know, and it's like big men in white coats and masks, right? It's like nightmare stuff. Hauled all in the butt.
It sounds like, you know, you're a bit nervous about the procedure and that you would like to still continue to use some of the fentanyl you're using up until the procedure. And then post-procedure, depending on how you're doing, we can start Suboxone. And also acknowledging that, you know, you're so far from the pharmacy. When you're sick, you can't keep coming back and forth.
Yeah.
With certain higher risk medications like methadone and Cadium, there is more of a connection to the pharmacy, but with Suboxone we can absolutely make this work. Because there's some variables here, what I want to do is I want to follow up with you the day after your procedure, if that's possible. Yeah. And if you're not able to see me in person, we can absolutely do a phone call. Sounds like we're pretty much ready to go here. Now, with regards to the follow-up post-surgery, you might need an extra day or two of sort of adjuncts and some opioids, maybe like some hydromorphone that can help you with that temporarily. Suboxone's a great option for people that have some dependencies, that baseline level, and it's a good option for the chronic pain part, but sometimes it just doesn't do very well for the acute pain part. Yeah. So we got to measure that out.
We do safe protection room right there, so people come in regularly. And all that we've had is just a fentanyl test strip so far. But now that we can offer full-on testing before people use, after people use, comprehensive testing. I've had people who have tested it, looked at it, and thrown away their needle. It's what keeps people alive, knowing what you're putting in your body. Yeah. Because you can put too little and be fine and do another, or you can do too much of what you don't know and die. It's so...
This is a human crisis, right? This is a human crisis.
For sure.
I think it's so important that hearing your story and how the service has helped you understand the supply and drive demand for something that's a little safer, at least, is all the go I need.
What drew you to start doing this? Was there a certain incident, or did you lose someone, or just what made you want to make a difference?
I don't even like to think about what I've lost and who I've lost. But I just, I have 4 Narcan kits on me at all times, and normally within a week I'll use them.
I've lost good friends, really close friends.
So many to count.
More than 20 probably. I think like a lot of, some of my best friends, like from fentanyl.
Probably close to 100 in this town.
I lost my real mom to a heroin overdose.
There's so many people that we've lost, I can't even think of them all.
I relapsed. When I came back to Chilliwack, out of 100 people, there maybe was 10 left.
Friend, his name is Max. Everybody knew him as Rabbit.
Pretty much everyone I've lost.
I stopped counting at 300 a couple years ago.
A couple years ago, I lost my mother to addiction. She was in treatment trying to get better, and apparently she overdosed. And I was the only one to show up at her funeral. It's not as easy as picking her up or putting her down.
Yeah, my brother, probably the more, the one that hurts the
most. Sita, my uncle Drew, my aunt Haley, and my best friend Devin.
I lost my brother to he got hot cab for being in a gang. I got.
Every day across Canada, more people die because of toxic drugs. Our drug checking service is a lifeline, giving people vital information about the substances they're using. We test for different varieties of fentanyl, benzodiazepines, veterinary tranquilizers, and other dangerous contaminants to prevent overdoses and save lives. But we're one single lifeline adrift on the ocean of the ever-evolving toxic drug supply. Imagine a world where an addict could access safe, regulated drugs. A world where they could start to put their lives back together instead of being forced to scrabble in the dirt, live in a tent or a shack in the woods, fight amongst themselves for the scraps or drink cans that the rest of us throw away. A world where addiction was treated as a health issue, not a crime. A world where hospitals, paramedics, and firefighters don't spend millions of dollars a year on overdose response, and police don't have to deal with drug-related property crime. The cost of, quote, free drugs for addicts, unquote, is utterly trivial, non-existent in comparison to the money we're forced to spend on these ancillary and unintended costs of prohibition, which has failed, is failing, will continue to fail. We need to implement bold, evidence-based solutions such as safe supply and real decriminalization to truly address the root causes of this crisis and build a healthier, safer future for all Canadians. Even if that's a world where all of us drug-checking technicians have to search for new careers.
And the other piece for me is the insomnia gets me in those early few days. You know, I usually get a good night's sleep the first night. Trazodone has helped me in the past with that. Clonidine has helped as well with the sort of racing heart and the sweat. So I'm sure that's kind of what you're talking about.
Totally.
There.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different options there. Yeah. So, you know, lab work was really good. You're good to go from my end.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. So sounds like we're ready to go step 1 in your journey, and then step 2 we'll follow up and kind of just adjust on the fly there.
Yeah.
But I think if we follow this plan, you know, give or take a few days, I think things are gonna go smoothly.
Yeah. Well, we've been preparing for a few months now, and I've been putting just absolutely every little thing that I've learned along the years into place, and I'm looking forward to feeling so much better.
That's good. Totally. And if you know if this is what you want, you can make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I thought that I would get started. Yeah, it's super peaceful up here, as you can hear the birds. I'm watching a hummingbird right now, just recognizing my privilege to have such a safe and really tranquil space to detox in. Hey guys, so it's around dinner time on Friday, April 19th. I began Suboxone induction at 11 o'clock last night, so I'm partway through my 4-part 1 milligram dosing schedule every 12 hours. So I haven't heard from Dr. Grover today, but I'm probably off. I hope he's off work. I really do. And yeah, I'll hear from him tomorrow for sure.
It's gonna be a little bit touch and go. Honestly, it's a bit tricky. The worst thing you want is a precipitated withdrawal.
Of course.
Rather than having a few hours of withdrawal effects, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just concerned about you being far away, and then.
I'm currently taking the 2 milligram doses today of Suboxone. Yeah, it's getting a little bit rough for sure. What are you gonna do?
And it's like I know so many people like really wish this for me. Like people in my life are really rooting for me to be clean. And like, that's how I know like these people that I love and trust, they want this for me, so it must be right. I just don't know what I want. It's really hard. Yeah, like it's really hard when you know you've like been clean before and you know what it feels like, and you killed recovery and was doing so well and then lost it like so fast and so hard. It's just like, I've done it before, I can do this again, and can do it so much better. It's such a really weird feeling.
All right, we got some confirmatory results to go through from substance at UVic.
From the last couple weeks.
Yeah. Are you good to enter in the data there, Will?
All set.
All right, so sample ID 0617001.
Yep.
All right, the results are fluorofentanyl 15%. That is all.
Huh. Yeah, see, Mike wanted that at like 20 to 30, so that was higher. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? All right, this is fentanyl at 22%. Medetomidine, yeah, 22.
Okay.
Medetomidine at 1% again. Cut with caffeine and a sugar.
1%. Yeah, so we thought it was 40 to
40 to
60.
60. Yeah, took a big swing. That'd be interesting to revisit that one. Pulling. Okay, so we have a huge fentanyl spike here.
Right. Yeah. This is
why we quantited it, but the paper spray came back at only 22%, which is freaking interesting because look, I guarantee you, when we throw
mixture analysis,
when we throw the quant on it, look at this. Let's just go right off the bat.
And it shows fentanyl right away.
Fentanyl's the first ingredient. Yeah. Right? And then let's do a mixture analysis on this.
Yeah.
Right? With what? Let's just say 4 ingredients? Sure.
3.
3?
Yeah.
Let's just do 3.
Caffeine or erythritol.
Look at this.
And
watch this. I bet the fentanyl is going to be like pushing 40%.
Yeah.
And look at it hug. Look at it hug that M there.
Yeah.
So that's why we quantited it at 40 to 60, but the paper spray came back at 22%.
Right.
Well, it's all a work in progress.
I mean, yeah. So this is the really interesting one. This is the one that we got from Chris that he had overdosed on, and he went and got some more of the same, allegedly the same stuff, and we brought it out to Langley to test, and
we're gonna compare the two spectrums on top of each other. So we're gonna use the one from the residue that had more of an adenosine hit, and we're gonna compare it to the actual drug sample that was given to us by the person who used.
There they are. There they are, superimposed onto each other. That's with the subtractions. The two subtractions superimposed onto each other. So that's two, and both of them are 2 subtractions until but this is 2 subtractions in phenacetin. The other one's 2 subtractions, then it hits for it, which is too curious.
Do we have a sample of that one? No, right?
no, it was such a tiny amount of residue.
It is slightly different, but it was,
Yeah, no, let's check it out to see. Nitazines are up and coming because they're big in Europe.
They have been on the eastern side of the continent, not so much over here yet.
Yeah, I'm just interested what people think because they are supposed to be longer lasting than fentanyl.
Yeah, there's
He said it was like nothing he'd ever experienced.
But it's if it is stronger and you take a usual fentanyl dose, then yeah.
Yeah.
But, if you dose it correctly, I'm just wondering if people would like it.
Right, because it could still be like just super potent, but lurking in there under the 5%.
Are you good with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what did it come back? This is 62004. It was inconclusive because
Completely
it was
inconclusive, but fentanyl
positive, and
Okay.
the phenacetin is there again. So
Yeah, it's spicy. So the results were fentanyl at 2%, fluorofentanyl at 1%, bromazolam at 3%,
okay, well, that's easy for us to miss.
xylazine at 2%,
Again, easy for us to miss.
cut with phenacetin at 13%.
Right.
So everything.
So no nitazine though.
No nitazine, and everything just slightly under our detection limit.
Right.
And so that could create some more static buildup with the phenacetin and lead to like false hits.
Right.
In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so hi everybody. Now you've heard me talk 3 times today. So my name is Tanis. I coordinate the Chilliwack Community Action Team. This is our 3rd annual International Overdose Awareness Day event here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like very dichotomous to be like in a celebration mode and having food and cheering and stuff like that when it actually is like a really, really tough day for a lot of us. I don't know about anybody else, but I woke up like not wanting to leave my house and stay in bed all day. So for Overdose Awareness Day, yeah, I've definitely been a big part of the planning here for the last 3 years, and I'm so grateful to have met Lejeune and this incredible partnership we have here now. This purple lattice that you see behind me here was my very first sort of attempt at creating an installation of sorts for this day, somewhere where the community can pin a little saying, a name, some dates of any lost loved ones. So we do still have that. And so every time I come here, I end up adding a photo to these lattices. I came the first year and did about 6 of my friends' photos up there, and then every year I've actually come and added another one.
This is also our 3rd annual year doing butterflies. What's gonna happen is that these butterflies have been cooled down. So they've basically been in hibernation for the last week. So they are gonna be a little bit slow to start with. So spend some time with your butterfly. The analogy of this activity is that this is a memorial activity for someone that you might have lost. And sort of being able to let some of that really heavy grief off your shoulders go with the freedom that this activity stands for. And so yes, this is the first time the butterfly has been under the sunshine, under the blue sky outside, and to really be able to let that go and all together, it's been a really, really great collective grieving activity. So we'll hopefully get some not so crazy party music going and just spend some time with your butterfly. Again, these are not monarchs, so they don't stay in a pack. So we're not going to expect them to all go together and fly away. They're a little bit drunk from being cold, so they're going to take a little while. And this area here is perfect for them.
And eventually, I spoke, I talked, I moved, I acknowledged, I had taken out of the ICU, got moved to acute care. From acute care, a kidney transplant was scheduled that never had to happen because my blood work just kept on getting better, and eventually, like so many people don't get the chance that, and I eventually am the man that you see here today now. It's hard to receive applause for that because you get survivor's guilt. So many good people, a lot of people don't get that chance. Whatever reason I did, and I was able through a twist of fate to become an FTIR technician where I can now scan the drug supply in our area from here to Hope, where I see firsthand just how toxic our supply is. You know, we have paramedics that are overworked, over-responding, firefighters that are responding to more overdoses and fires by a large margin. It's absurd how many people have to die, and the fix is ease. We know what the fix is. We just need to know what's in our drugs. We need to know what it is. What's methamphetamine? What is it? I don't know. It messes you up really bad. But this is alpha-gadazepam. I don't know. It's not as bad as bromazepam, but mostly bromazepam in the dope. It might sound like jargon Google all of you guys that use the drugs that are told you to. Truthfully.
And as a lot of you guys know, like I am somebody with lived and living experience with substance use. I am a current daily fentanyl user. Overdose is terrifying, and it happens at the most unpredictable times. Last time I relapsed back in 2021, I had been 8 months sober. So it really hijacks your brain. It truly is an outer force that is so hard to combat. And so today I take a lot of harm reduction steps, and you know, I have as many resources as anybody else, but I'm still an incredibly at-risk person. And I fall into a category of people which we would like to call the hidden population, right? So I'm not a visible person using substances who's accessing our shelters and our OPSs. I have my own home, I have a new car, a wonderful career that I've built for myself. And so I am actually in an incredibly high risk for overdose. Like, I'd really like to not use fentanyl. I consider myself in recovery already, but that's the last piece of my puzzle. Like, I'm in recovery when it comes to physical health and financial freedom and relationships with my family and friends. But it's just sort of that one last piece. And removing that now is just a very strange feeling. I've done the rock bottom detox. I have nothing left. I don't have a car, I don't have money, my parents aren't talking to me, I've got nowhere to go. And I've done that type of detox, but detoxing when my life is actually pretty well put together is really strange, and it's proving to be incredibly difficult. But yeah, I just really wanted to talk about how I use today, and how not all substance use is incredibly chaotic the way that it's visible to the folks that we serve, but that it's quite hidden, and that the hidden population is in so much danger right now. And then if you had a magic wand that you could wave and have a solution to the opioid crisis, what would it be?
It'd probably be that we need more help for trauma, especially abuse of children, because we're dealing with substance abuse counseling, but we're not getting trauma counseling from when we're little.
I would have it so the doctors couldn't just cut people off like that, you know? Get them off properly. I got on methadone. I got off all the dope. 6 months off methadone, off all the dope. 2 years clean. So there's ways. They just want the money. That's all they want.
Giving it out and send it out to everybody. Have them all equal. Have them all receive the same, and let them all know what it's like.
I think everybody deserves free education, and then I think everybody deserves a place to live. You know, like. You can't get a job, you can't do any of these things without an address.
Instead of the judgmentalness, the understanding.
More open help from people that are supposed to be there to help us, like our government.
I think they're both the Conservative, NDP, Greens, and Liberals, if they were to tell the truth, would say, I can't do anything about the housing crisis or the drug crisis. We're at gridlock. It's an emergency, and they're not saying that. Nobody's honest enough to say it in the cabinet, and it really sucks.
Well, I think COVID taught us definitely that even very marginally politically hot topic issues can be aggressively politicized when brought to the public arena. And with addiction and use, that there is already so much political weight behind it that for a politician to have the bravery to actually propose any evidence-based solutions to addictions, it would be career suicide for them and their entire party. It's disheartening to say, but to think that this would come from a state solution is, I mean, that didn't even occur to me as a genie in the bottle solution because it's so far-fetched.
Not take it away, but manage it. Go through the government through it, I think, maybe, like how they do it in Vancouver, like that when they're doing the heroin program in Vancouver, right?
I would bring in replacement heroin, although it's not the same as Fent or the benzos, maybe a benzo to go with it, I don't know, clorazepam, one of the PAMs or something, a benzo and heroin, and start to wean people off it properly with the proper drug, and then probably make it so that only if you've been using for like a year or 2 years can you get the heroin drug to get off it, and set up a proper program where people get the drug replacement they need. Because if they can't get off it because they need it, you can't just cut them off because then they die. You need to have some type of compassionate thing that other countries like, let's say, Denmark, Sweden, Norway have been doing, and that we do nothing progressive like that. We put in, oh, well, it's a problem here, it's a stigmatization here. Church doesn't like it over there. Well, I don't think Jesus would say, oh, let these people die. I don't think Jesus would say that.
You gotta beat the mental health before you can beat the addiction. You can't just force somebody to go to treatment and expect them to get better. And you can't just force them to go to jail or something like that. There has to be a different way.
I can't believe we're about to enter the 10th year of this public health emergency here in BC. And we're constantly hearing about the downstream effects of this crisis, the death toll, broken families, rising rates of poverty, homelessness, and crime. But if we turn our attention upstream, we can see that the crisis does not sustain itself alone. In fact, deliberate injustices trickle down and play significant roles in the ongoing devastation. Millions of taxpayer dollars continue to pour into our public sector, and yet, bloated as they are, these outdated colonial systems are becoming less and less effective. Entire industries have formed around harm reduction and overdose prevention, yet little progress has been made. Instead, powerful people continue to profit off the backs of our dead and dying friends. The pharmaceutical industry, which was originally responsible for the severity and steep onset of this crisis, may actually hold the key to the solution. But fear-mongering, as usual, has created a moral panic surrounding safe supply. Disinformation tells the general public that safer supply programs would simply give out free drugs to anyone who wants them. In reality, safer supply is a concept centered on bodily autonomy, the knowledge of what one is ingesting and of being able to control the doses of that substance. Safe supply should be utilized as a tool towards one's recovery, to gain stability. Only then can one begin to examine the root causes of their substance use. Similarly, Mountainside's drug checking program is not an end-all solution, but a tool to keep people alive and informed until they can gain the capacity for recovery. One tool that could definitely help turn this crisis around is a psychedelic called Ibogaine. Taking this medicine in ceremony boosts neuroplasticity, allowing for deep introspection, producing incredible results for people with opioid dependency, and more importantly, complex PTSD. It is proven to rewire neural pathways in the brain. My own experience with Ibogaine was profound, a rebirth and a huge reason why I am alive and thriving today. Ibogaine and other powerful and effective indigenous plant medicines remain scheduled substances. They're expensive and inaccessible, forcing treatment underground. Prohibition of all substances continues to be a major stumbling block. BC had a half-measured attempt at decriminalization in 2023, which failed miserably due to the lack of meaningful inclusion of people who use drugs in the planning and implementation of this policy. We're calling for compassionate, equitable approach, something to dismantle the systems that perpetuate this crisis. We need safer supply and the willingness to integrate treatment modalities such as Ibogaine to overcome the status quo. But first, we have to stop letting people die from toxic drugs, or worse, watch them flounder in cycles of overdose, hospitalization, incarceration, violence, and oppression. Everyone deserves health, dignity, and a chance at recovery. We deserve hope.
tempted to give in. I reach for you, despite the headache I'll endure for one more fight. My love for you is rotting me from the inside out. Starving me I do, starving me I do, starving me I do. Starving me I do, starving me I do, starving me I do. Starving me I do, starving me I do, starving me I do. Starving me I do, starving me I do, starving me I do.